Evening, everyone. This is the Goffstown Planning Board meeting. Today is Thursday, March 25th. This is a regularly scheduled meeting. We have regular business, old and new business to attend tonight, along with some other matters of correspondence. Before we begin our meeting, I need to read a notice required due to the fact that we're meeting electronically. So, as chair of the Goffstown Planning Board, due to the COVID-19 outbreak and in accordance with Governor Sununu Emergency Order Number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 20-2004, this board is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to the meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the Governor's Emergency Order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, this is to confirm that we are providing access to the meeting by telephone, with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. We are utilizing a telephone conference line for this electronic meeting, which the public can listen and, if necessary, participate by dialing 603-766-5646 and using the participant code 785-645 followed by the pound sign. We provided public notice of the necessary information for accessing this meeting by giving notice to access this with the posted agenda, and we're providing a mechanism through the phone to access this meeting. And if you're having problems, please call 603-660-5000. Once we're notified that there's a problem with access in the meeting, we will adjourn the meeting and reschedule it for another date. Please note that all votes taken during the meeting will be done by roll call vote, except the motion to adjourn. We get to do that by waving at the camera and clicking off. And we will start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance. And when each member states their name, we also ask to know whether there's anybody with them. And please note that if you're a member of the public who is dialed into this meeting, you have been muted by our organizer. When we come to the item on the agenda that you are interested in and want to speak during the public hearing process, we will ask you to dial *9, and then you will be recognized to participate in the meeting at that point. So at this time, I'm going to take roll call attendance for our meetings, and the first person that I'm going to call is do I understand you're our new select board reps, Collis Adams?
That is correct, Madam Chair.
Well, and welcome to the planning board.
Well, thank
welcome
you.
back.
It's good to be back. Looking forward to it. I'll also point out that I'm also the select board representative on the Conservation Commission. I think that'll help because, as you know, we interact and communicate frequently. So I thought that would bring some good continuity to the process. And I am alone tonight.
All right. Phil.
Yes, I'm here and I'm alone.
My name is Barbara Griffin. I'm here and I am home with a loud parrot, a dog, and a husband wandering around somewhere. Karen.
I'm here and I'm with my dog.
Gail LeBrac.
I'm here and I am alone.
And Gail, do you also serve in another capacity?
I am an alternate and a recording secretary.
Thank you. Kimberly.
I am here, Kimberly Peace. I am the vice chair and I am alone.
Thank you. David Pierce.
I'm here alone.
Thank you. James Raymond.
I'm Jim Raymond. I'm here. My wife is scurrying around doing housework, and notwithstanding 911A, I'm not going to exclude her from doing that.
Tim Redmond.
Yes, I'm here and I'm alone.
Okay, great. You're on the. Are you on the phone, Tim?
No, I'm on the computer, on the Zoom.
This is. I do not understand why I can't see him. This is very annoying.
I think I have to get my camera turned on. I'm working on it.
Oh, you're the one that's UCAM 6. Please start UCAM. Okay. All right. So all of our regular members are in attendance tonight, so I do not need to appoint an alternate. The first item of our business tonight, which is our usual item of business, excuse me, is acceptance or correction of the planning board minutes of February 25th. Kimberly, you've submitted some corrections. Would you like to make a motion? Kimberly, you're muted.
Sorry, I was hunting for my correction. I make a motion that we accept the minutes as corrected. I had made Gail, the change was that I had said, I thought that my comment should be, she reviewed the available online mapping for the site and agrees there is no reason to suspect there would be wetlands on these parcels. It just sort of cleans up the fact that I looked at it online.
All right. Does anybody else have any corrections to the minutes? Oh, or is there a second to that? Excuse me, that was a motion.
I'll second it.
Phil seconds.
I'll second it. Phil.
Is there any further discussion on the minutes of February 25th? Seeing none, I'm going to call the roll for a vote. Collis.
I'll abstain. I was not at the meeting.
Thank you. Phil.
Yes.
The chair votes yes. Karen.
I'm abstaining. I wasn't at the meeting.
Kimberly.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Tim.
Yes.
Thank you. The minutes are adopted. The next thing, we have a couple of other items, but the first thing that I want to address is one of the items on our agenda tonight as a matter of new business. I would like to reorder and take up now, and that would be map 18, lots 17 and 16A. This is a completeness review, site plan review, and conditional use permit hearing for a proposal to turn an existing house into a laundromat and do other modifications to buildings on the site. Joanne, we have a request for continuance on this. Is that correct?
Yes, we have a request for continuance until the April 8th meeting. Staff is now recommending that we continue until the 22nd because new applications have come in advance of that meeting prior to us recommending the 8th. And we feel that the agenda may be too full to really give this one its full attention. I was hoping Eric Mitchell would weigh in on this as to whether or not this would be satisfactory to his applicant or himself and his applicant.
Did you contact him in regards to the date of the 22nd?
I did, but I have not heard back, but he is on the line. I'll just take him off mute. Eric, did you hear that?
Yes, I did. I emailed Joanne, but not until late this afternoon, that the client would prefer to stay on the agenda for the 8th.
Okay. Why is this being continued?
There still has several issues that we need to review and work through. We did review the plans once already and provided Eric with some feedback, but there are still several outstanding issues. If we were to go with the 8th, we would have to have everything ready to go out in the packet by next Thursday, or actually by Wednesday, the latest, so it could be mailed on Thursday.
Madam Chair, I move that we continue this to the 22nd. The applicant wasn't ready today. We should not crowd our agenda at the next meeting. I understand that applicants can't get all the comments in, but to impose this on top of an already busy agenda is unreasonable. So I'm going to go make a motion as with Joanne's original recommendation.
Is there a
I'll
second?
second that.
Karen has seconded the motion. Is there any further discussion? The motion on the floor is to continue the application for tax map 18, lots 17 and 16A to April 22nd. I'm not hearing any further discussion, so I'm going to call the roll. Collis.
Yes.
Phil.
Yes.
The chair votes yes. Karen.
Yes.
Kimberly.
Yes.
Jim.
Yes.
Tim. Tim. Is that a yes?
He's on
I'm
mute.
just trying to unmute myself, yes.
All right, thanks. All right, so for anybody who is on the line in regards to this application on Hague Street, it has been continued to April 22nd. I want to address one other thing on the correspondence and action items before we go to new business. Joanne, there's a request to release the surety for the fencing on map 18 lots 30 and 32A Paris Auto Body. Do you have a recommendation on that?
Yes, I checked the site and everything has been taken care of. The fencing is up and the fencing around the dumpster has also been installed. So we're just waiting for the board to vote to release that money.
Do any board members have any questions or comments? I'm not seeing any. Is there a motion?
I move that we authorize the release, this is Jim Raymond, release of the security.
Of the surety bond. Is there a second?
This is Collis. I'll second.
Collis seconded it. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I'm going to call for the roll. Collis.
Yes.
Phil.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm trying to do this in the same order so you guys can follow along. Otherwise, otherwise I can bounce around and then it'll be really entertaining. The chair votes yes. Karen.
Yes.
Kimberly.
Yes.
Jim.
Yes.
And Tim. I think Tim has gone off screen. Is that right? Tim? Do you see him, Joanne?
I do not see him. He's gone.
Okay. All right. So the surety bond motion has passed. All right. We're going to move on to our first item of new business. That would be map 12, lot 10. This is a completeness review, final subdivision plan review hearing for a proposed 5-lot subdivision creating 4 new additional single-family home lots. The property is located on Montalona Road, and it's owned by Robert Starr's Homes, LLC. The property is zoned commercial. Joanne, is this application ready for review and acceptance?
Yes, it is ready.
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Jim.
Well, I'm noting Sarah's comment. The determination that an application is complete means that an application has been filed in accordance with the requirements of our subdivision regulations, unless a waiver is requested. I'm looking at Sarah's, DPW's comments, and there are 3+ pages of them. Some of them are perhaps engineering comments, but many of them look like matters that are required by our subdivision regs to be shown on the plan.
There are 2 waivers.
Okay, well, if you can take out those, but there are others that I don't see here. So I think the question is this application really complete? We don't want to accept an application that's going to require a lot of staff work to note things that are missing. We've fallen into that trap before, and we've already invested time in this apparently, but I question whether this is ready to be heard. The plan doesn't have this detail.
Joanne.
So items that have been addressed are on the completeness checklist. There are other items that, as Jim has mentioned, have not been addressed, but are not part of the actual completeness checklist. So the second waiver, stormwater management, originally he had requested a waiver for the drainage study, but he has since provided one. So even though it says that he needs a waiver, he has provided one. So the only waiver that would be requested is the first one for site-specific soil mapping. We realize there are many, many comments, and that's why the ultimate recommendation is to continue, but we thought the board should take a look at it and see if they have any other comments and see what the abutters' comments are so that we can continue to move along with this one.
Have you heard, Madam Chair?
Go ahead, Jim.
The theory of our completed application is we can act on it immediately. If there's still missing information, in my mind, it's not complete. And we've made this mistake before of accepting projects that we being town staff, have to do a lot of work to bring it into compliance. And I don't think that's our job.
If I can just follow up on what Jim says, one of my concerns, if we know this is going to need to be continued because of additional work that needs to be done on the application, we're going to continue the public hearing, which means the public is going to be back for another public hearing. And the reality is, we're probably going to hear a lot of the same comments. Now, I am sort of torn because people are here, and if there's something specific that people want addressed on the board, it would sort of be nice to know it. But this is sort of a pattern that we're falling into now as the season is beginning, that we're getting applications in and they're just not ready to be reviewed.
Well, the plans were reviewed, and those are the comments that we had. If your preference is to continue it at this point, we just won't know at that point what the abutters have to say. So if we continue it without the abutters' comments, then we won't know if there's any additional changes to be made.
I don't have an application for abutters or public to talk to unless we accept it. And this comes back to, I think, something that Tim, I don't know whether he's back or not, frequently comes to. At what point do we decide that our completeness is affected by the amount of comments that need to happen on the actual plan? Because we're back to a 3-page DPW comment list. Admittedly, some of them are standard. I mean, I need to understand that. And so why don't you go through, as far as the completeness checklist, Joanne, why don't you read off indeed what you found was complete? So we have that on the record before we address this.
Okay, so they've provided the appropriate copies for the plan. The plan was reviewed as required. We decided whether or not they needed any variances or special exceptions, which they did not. The wetland and surface water conservation district delineations have been shown. The topography was shown, the drainage study was submitted for review, the sediment and erosion control for proposed construction was shown. The traffic study, it was a traffic memo in this case, was proposed. Was provided. This started out initially with staff as an open space, but has then switched over to a conventional subdivision, so a yield plan was not required, and architectural renderings are not required. They did provide us with the only thing that is missing is, as far as details are, the cistern location has not been provided to us, and that's it for the checklist. It's not very thorough, but that's what's on here. That's what's required. They did submit the waivers.
Right.
In the beginning, there were 2. Now there's 1. Does anybody want me to share this plan so you can actually see it up on the screen?
Well, I mean, we have it all in our packet.
No, for the public.
Oh.
Joanne, can I make a comment?
Sure.
This is Kimberly. since I'm at home, I'm also looking at the Goffstown GIS on my second screen, and I'm noticing that the GIS for this parcel is not correct. Maybe that's something that Derek needs to rectify, but the boundary between 1210 and the parcel behind it that the town owns is not correct.
Right, we're aware of that, that most of the GIS that we have is not correct unless it's been surveyed in the field, and that only occurs when there's some sort of development happening. But David Neiman has been, it brought that to our attention initially, and the applicant is well aware of that. This plan that I've just shown, it does have a surveyed boundary line for that boundary against the back portion, which is the remainder lot, but it does not, this particular sheet does not show the boundary between the town lot and the applicant's land. That is something that we would, certainly have included once the plan, or if the plan ever gets approved. That line would then go over to the people who update our GIS information and be corrected.
Okay. All right, well, board members, the amount of comments from DPW were distressing, but perhaps that's an issue for us to deal with our completeness, because it would seem to me that maybe some of those items need to be added to our completeness checklist. So,
This is Eric Mitchell. May I speak?
Mr. Eric Mitchell is here on behalf of the applicant. I'm going to allow him to speak. Go ahead, Mr. Mitchell.
Okay, thank you. I understand that with the letters and the response back we got from the Public Works Department, that they have questions and concerns about the drainage. And I talked to Sarah today, and we're going to arrange a meeting probably via Zoom just to go over our changes. We did do the calculations for the drainage, and we believe it meets the 25-year storm, but we understand the concerns that Sarah has on some of the things relative to drainage. When we look at completeness of a project, it's my understanding that if the project is complete so the board can start to take it under consideration and open the public hearing, that starts the clock, which is 65 days for them to make a decision. And if the decision is not made in 65 days, or the applicant does not ask for an extension of that 65 days, then the project just kind of goes dead. What we have here is, if you look at the plans that we have, there's a lot of information on the plans relative to the lots, the locations, the size, even the town-owned property to the back, and that we want to make sure that we're able to get comments from the staff. I mean, we have them from staff, comments from the planning board as well as the abutters, because we're here at a meeting tonight. We understand that if this has to be continued because we have to work out other items with Sarah, that we can. But I think it's proper, if we meet the conditions of what's required for acceptance, I would ask that the board accept the application. We'll take comments from the board and the abutters for things that we can, if they want addressed or questions they have, we can answer those.
Board members. I guess my preference, board members, would be to go ahead and acceptance with the waiver for acceptance purposes only. Hear a brief overview of this plan, and get public comment on it. Because I know we have people online to make comments on this, to give staff the benefit of this. But if my inclination would be, obviously, if all of the information complete is not done by next Thursday for the packet for the next meeting, it's going to go to, given the agendas, it might even go to May, because I'm just not inclined to deal with the need for a substantial amount, any information at the next public hearing. I don't know how other board members feel.
Madam Chair, I'll move that we find it complete for acceptance purposes without waiving any of the substantive requirements of our regulations for purposes of commencing the review. I will note that, however, that there is a 65-day clock, and if the applicant does not extend that, I will not be inclined to give them a lot of slack on the next go-round if there's still substantive matters missing, because that would be a basis to deny it, and I'd be prepared to do that. But my motion is to accept this for hearing.
Is there a
I
second?
second it, Barbara.
It's been moved and seconded by Kimberly. Is there any further discussion?
Oh, that was Karen.
That was Karen.
Oh, sorry. I knew that, but I said Kimberly because I'm flailing around here for my attendance list because now I don't know what order to call you all.
That's okay. I won't be insulted by being called Kimberly.
All right, just, answer for each other when I do the roll call. All right, so I'm going to do it from memory here. Collis.
Yes.
Phil.
Yes.
Kimberly.
Yes.
The chair votes yes. Karen.
Yes.
Tim. Jim.
Yes.
Okay, we have accepted it. Joanne, you want to give us a brief overview of the application?
Sure. This property is located on Montalona Road, just south of the Dunbarton border. It consists of three, let me just find the right number here. I can't find it. 37 acres. And they're proposing to divide it into 5 acres. With the lots fronting on Montalona Road and a remainder going with the back portion of the property, so that portion of the property will have frontage on Montalona. All of the lots meet the size requirement and the lot frontage. They are all on septic and a well, private water. They are looking to just do a residential type subdivision, and the traffic memo showed that this had very light impact on traffic. There's a lot of farms on Montalona, so it's a pretty quiet road. There will be some current use tax involved or penalty involved because part of the land is in current use. The remainder of the comments are all Sarah, so I don't know if she wants to add anything. And I do have one concern about the driveway coming out from one of the lots. The driveways are shown, it's just not on the sheet that I have in front of you, but the driveways are shown on sheet 4 of 9. And one of the driveways across the street, the abutter has some concern. He is on lot 6-2 because his house sits much lower. His lot slopes down, his driveway slopes down to his house. And if they were to add a driveway up above, he's concerned with glare from the headlights pointing into his house. But we don't need to address that tonight, but that's one of the issues that we have.
Okay. Any questions from board members before we hear from the applicant?
I do. I have a question. I know there was discussion about this was preliminarily looked at as an open space development and that it is not an open space development. Is there a reason why?
Correct. They've decided to eliminate, they had an additional lot which required an open space development. So they've eliminated one of the lots and it now no longer requires open space. So they've decided to just do the development along the roadway. The land itself slopes up from Montalona going up. There's quite a distance there's quite a grade distance. I'm sorry, there's quite a grade difference. So I'm not so sure that the back land is developable. But Eric could certainly explain that in greater detail.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other board members before we go to the applicant? All right, Mr. Mitchell, are you here to speak on behalf of the applicant tonight?
Yes, I am.
All right, why don't you go ahead? Welcome.
Okay, thank you. Most of the information that has already been given tells you what we want to do. What we did initially have is it's a vacant piece of property. We had 5 proposed building lots of at least 2 acres, and then we left the remainder piece as a non-buildable lot, which actually technically would have, I guess, created 6 lots. The reason why we left that as non-buildable is we weren't sure what we would be doing it down the road, but because that required us to do an open space development, we went back and did just the 5 lots. However, the land that's out in the back has some value, inherent value, either to the abutters, so that we did leave the remainder piece, about 27 acres, instead of adding it to have 5 lots, which are all like almost 8 acres apiece. So we left the land out back, that perhaps something can be done in the short or long term with working one of the abutters. Now, one of the lots in the rear is owned by the town, and there was discussion which may come about tonight that was with the Conservation Commission we had last night. We also have the abutter down to the south, which is a farm property, and the property itself may be, if it was property line adjustment was done, it may be beneficial to the farm that is there. So right now we do have, technically it is 5 single-family house lots along the road, but we have left one parcel is 27 acres, which may be doing something down the road. But what we want to do now is subdivide out the 5 lots.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Mitchell from board members? Sarah, you have any comments? Sarah, you're muted.
Yes. I honestly don't really think that it's worth getting into all of mine, since the applicant and I are going to meet next week.
Okay. All right.
Madam Chair, may I ask a question for Sarah just on that note?
Sure.
Given the long list, sort of her qualitative assessment, are they at this point material to our consideration, or are they items that can be, in her view, can be addressed in due course by the applicant to meet her concerns?
In order to meet the drainage things, I don't think it will change, oh, they can't create 5 lots here. So in terms of, if you are considering 5 lot subdivision, I think the drainage can be worked into this overall goal. Does that answer your question?
Well, I'll treat that, if I may, Madam Chair, as an answer. It's not a showstopper at this point, but there's some more work to be done.
And Sarah, and follow up, Jim, thank you for that question. I'm assuming that you can deal with, in conjunction with that, the associated driveway issues that may be arising due to grade and location issues, because they would need a permit from you for that in any case, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. All right, any other questions before we go to the public hearing? Because people are signed on, so we're going to hear those comments, and there'll be something for us and the applicant to consider as this plan proceeds forward. All right, I'm not seeing anything, so at this time I'm going to open the public hearing on this application before the board. It is map 12, lot 10. It's a completeness review, final subdivision plan review hearing for proposed 5 lot subdivision, creating 4 new additional single family home lots. It's located on Montalona Road, and the property is zoned agricultural. And members of the public, if you were on the phone, please press, I believe, *9. Is that right, Joanne? And then you'll be able to see them and allow them into the meeting to speak. Has anybody raised it?
We have one person so far. Dawn. No, I'm sorry. That's for another one. I
Star 9, if you would like to make a comment on this application.
I don't see anyone on the phone.
Is there anybody online who wants to raise their hand? If you are on the meeting platform, you would raise your hand.
Here's one. Amita Taylor.
Ms. Taylor, are you with us?
This is Michael Koss. I'm on her phone now.
All right, well, welcome, and could you please state your name again so our recording secretary can get it?
Michael Koss, KLS.
Thank you. And what would you like to speak about in regards to this application?
I don't have really any concern with the house lots. I have concerns with the back property line. From what I've been told my whole life, where the line is, what the old owner told me, reading the deed, I don't see this back piece part of it, abutting the townland.
Mr. Goss, I didn't understand that. You don't see what about the townland abutting it in the back?
In the back, there's like a big square abutting the townland.
Yeah.
And abutting me. I'm the farm next door, and I would like to purchase that off of them and talk to them about that. But I just want to make sure that the property lines are what's on this map, because it's not what I've always known it as, and it didn't seem like the deed read that.
Okay, that's probably a little beyond our jurisdiction on this, but it does sound like there are some issues with the back property line surveyed as compared to what people might think was there. What map and lot number are you at? Do you know?
It'd be tax map 12, lot 10-1, the 27.66 acres.
Okay.
The concern I have is on the property that is not developable because of the hill.
Right, well, I can see.
But I would like to purchase it to add onto my fields, but I just want to make sure that that is, and talk to him about it.
All right, but that's a discussion for you with the landowner, not really for us for planning board, but thank you for coming in. I'm sure the applicant is interested, that somebody's interested. Is there anybody else who'd like to make a comment on this proposal for a 4-lot subdivision creating 5 lots on Montalona Road?
There's a Dawn Florino.
Ms. Florino, are you with us?
Last 4 digits, 2720 for the telephone.
Yeah, I think if you hit star 9, we should be able to let you in the meeting and hear from you. And if you have a cell phone, you might have your mute on and you should unmute.
I'm not muted.
Excellent. We can hear you.
Yeah. So my concerns are the
Could we
driveway
have your
placement
name?
because my house. Yeah, my name is Michael Florino, Florino.
Great, thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, so my concerns are driveway placement because my house does sit lower. Also, I am very much concerned about the runoff from lawn fertilizers, vehicle liquids, etc., from the new houses because I have a culvert on my property and there are wetlands that are close. I mean, I have other concerns, but I don't think, that's not going to matter. I mean, I'm concerned about increased assessment because if they're building $700,000 houses. I mean, that's going to affect me. I'm also concerned with, there's not much water, there's not much.
All right,
surface
so
water
you
in
received
Johnstown.
notices that, okay. So your lot 6-2.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. And I think you heard us talking to the DPW director about issues with the driveways, and the drainage is of course something that we're expecting DPW to work out so that things like culverts across the street are not adversely impacted. Is there anything else you'd like us to be particularly concerned with in this application?
No, those are my two big concerns.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else online with us tonight that would like to make a comment on this application? All right, I'm not hearing, and Joanne is apparently not seeing anything. So at this time, I'm going to recess the public hearing to continue to whatever date this matter gets continued to. Because at this point, I don't think there's any action for the board to be taken. Does the board have any other questions for the applicant in regards to this at this point? I'm not seeing any. So Joanne, the proposal to continue this is to when?
April 8th.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Before we make that, I don't want to have this scheduled if it's a shot in the dark to get there, given the amount of comments. That's not fair to the abutters who come in electronically or by telephone, if it's unlikely to be heard.
So let me ask, if you don't mind, Jim, Sarah said that they were meeting next week. When are you meeting next week, Sarah? Sarah, you're muted.
Sorry, we have not set a date yet.
Okay, so the packet needs to be ready to go out on what day, Joanne? Thursday, Friday?
Thursday.
Okay, so they don't have a meeting yet. I'm assuming there are more comments, and plans are going to have to be redone and to your office on Thursday to be able to be put on the next agenda. And the meeting has not been set up yet. It does not seem likely to me that this is going to be done by next Thursday.
No, not me either.
Madam Chair, I will move to continue this to the next following meeting.
That would be the 22nd, I believe. Is there a second?
It's the 22nd or the 24th.
I'll second it, Barbara.
I'm not a detail person, either one.
It's the 22nd.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
Wait, I have a question.
Sure, Kimberly.
It's Kimberly. I thought someone mentioned that it was at the conservation meeting last night. Do we have any minutes or notes from that meeting, or should we just address that?
The Conservation Commission voted to pass on the comment as follows. The commission hopes and encourages the developer to work with the town to provide an access to Montalona Road to the town-owned parcel, map 12, lot 10A, that is landlocked, and/or land acquisition by the town for a portion of the back of proposed lot 10-1 with road access. The commission has no environmental issues or concerns.
Okay.
Why does the town own, this is a discussion for another day on open space, but why does the town own a landlocked parcel back there? Moving on.
Good question.
Yeah, open space and this kind of stuff is,
But
it's
I
me
can tell you,
going.
Barbara, even though it's a landlocked parcel, there are some very nice natural features out there.
I
all that stuff.
there are natural features right outside my window here that I can't see right now. So that's all very nice. All right.
I move the question.
It's been moved and seconded to continue this to April 22nd. If you are in a butter interested in this property, this will next be heard on April 22nd if this passes. I'm going to call the roll. Collis.
Yes.
Bill.
Yes.
Kimberly.
Yes.
The chair votes yes. Karen.
Yes.
Jim.
Yes.
Tim. Tim came back for a while and it looks like he might be gone again. Okay, the motion carries. This matter is continued to April 22nd. The next item of business before the board tonight is another new application. This is map 18, lot 60-2. This is a conceptual review for proposed 9,600 square foot landscape supply property maintenance office building, along with the second proposed 5,400 square foot warehouse office building. The property is owned by Deed Development LLC, and the applicant is Outdoor Maintenance. This property is located off of Abington Way. Hold on for a minute here. Let the chair get caught up here. Joanne, is this application ready for review?
This is just a completeness. Only.
Conceptual? Oh, I'm sorry, I read
Conceptual,
that.
I'm sorry.
I asked you, I said, oh, yeah, it's a conceptual. I just read it.
Madam
So
Chair.
what do we have with us here, Joanne, for this conceptual?
So we have Dylan Cruz from Dylan Cruz, who's part of the owner of the property.
Right.
Have Jason Hill, who is with TF Moran, and I believe that is it.
Okay, and we have a conceptual review application that was received on March 5th. And are there any comments by staff before we hear from the applicant on this?
We also have Kenneth Marrier, who is online here, and he is the applicant.
Okay,
So
I'm here. Can you hear me?
we can. All right,
Okay.
before we get to you, let me just check. Is there questions, Jim?
Well, no, my firm represents one of the other unit owners, and not having had a chance to contact the occasional client to see if it still is a client, I'm going to step down from hearing this today. I'll reserve the right to step back on if I can get that consent.
Okay. Is there staff, especially now that Jim is set down, anybody have Tim's number to text him or something and find out where he went?
I think I do.
I actually just got a text from him. He lost the computer connection and can't reconnect.
Can
He
he
can
call?
dial in, right?
He can call. Yeah.
What number does he call? I've got the little roll call thing. Is it on this?
766-5646. And the participation code is 785.
Hold on. 785.
645 #.
Okay. So if we have gotten everything for the conceptual review that we normally get. The applicant has put the packet together, and everybody should have a pretty good size map to take a look at.
Yeah.
So
And there's also a staff report.
all right, why don't you go through the staff report on this?
So the applicant is coming in with a proposal to do a 9,500 square foot landscape supply and property maintenance office with outdoor storage and sales of aggregate and landscape product. as well as a 9,000 square foot office warehouse building consisting of an 1,800 square foot office and 3,600 square foot warehouse. Both buildings will be styled as the Butler style buildings. They will include rear loading with overhead doors. And there's photos of the buildings on the plan that you've received. Manchester Waterworks' service is nearby, and access to the property would be through Abington Way with 2 new access drives entering that portion of the condominium. They would still be part of the condominium association. They would offer outdoor area for landscape materials for the public to pick up on site. And then they'd have another area for the sale of fencing, light posts, etc. And there would also be a fenced-in area for the storage of service equipment, such as a contractor's yard consisting of loaders, etc. They need to work out additional parking from what they've shown on this plan. Both of the buildings need, or both of the uses, I'm sorry, need conditional use permits. I have attached the listing of the criteria for the conditional use permits because I think there may be some issues with finding that this does not have a negative impact to surrounding properties. But they're here tonight just to go over their plan with you and to get some feedback as to what you think.
Barbara, I think you're on mute.
I was trying to spare you my angry parrot, but I need to just leave it on. Does anybody have any questions or comments before we turn to the applicant?
I have a question, Kimberly.
Kimberly.
Sorry if I forget, but will this require a traffic study?
More than likely, there will be truck traffic entering the site, so I would suggest that they do a traffic study.
Absolutely, it was one of my recommendations.
Yep.
Okay. All right, let's turn to the applicant. Welcome. I think I see 3 people here for this application on screen, and I don't know who's going first here, so welcome.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Hi, thanks. Yeah, I'm Jason Hill from TF Moran. And thank you, Madam Chair, for the opportunity to just discuss this project with you tonight. I think it's a good project. You all are all familiar. I think this board is pretty familiar with the property, subject property. I know we've been at many meetings over the course of years on this site. Is there a way that I could be made presenter simply?
Yeah. 1 second,
I just
Jason.
would like, thanks, Joanne.
Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. So you're all probably looking at the site plan. Can everyone see the site plan, which you all have in your package?
Yep.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
I was going to start with the aerial, but since you're all familiar with the property at hand, we're talking about this is the Abington Way condominium. We recently developed the Franklin Savings Bank a few years ago down here. This is the Rite Aid, and then NeighborWorks of Southern New Hampshire is back behind it. So I'm here tonight with Ken Merrier of Outdoor Maintenance Services, as well as Dylan Cruz, who's a representative of Lead Development, who's the landowner and the current landowner. I want really your feedback on the proposed conditional use permit, which is required to develop this property. I'm going to give you a really brief presentation and just open the doors and listen to what you have to say. but I want to get a few things in that are some of what Joanne has done a good job of summarizing, but I'd like to explain. So Ken has operated as an existing local business for 20 or more years in the Goffstown, Manchester area. He's a current resident of Goffstown. He operates a commercial property maintenance and plowing business, which is outdoor maintenance services. They currently, it's currently a portion of the business is occupied within the neighboring. There's a building complex behind Chiggy's place, which is right to the west, past the right, between Rite Aid and McDonald's. You have the Chiggy's place. There's a plaza there with some offices. He's a portion of the business, the maintenance business, property maintenance is located in that complex. And then really the purpose of this project is for him to basically grab some perfect property to grow and consolidate his existing business. There's an existing aggregate and landscape supply operation that's now located in Manchester. So we would consolidate those two and grow the business, with the opportunity for more space. And there's a retail component, which this plan has aggregate and landscape supply product, which will be available for the public pickup via pickup. And that would occupy approximately half of the property, which is currently undeveloped. And the property was formerly, we had proposed, AutoZone was originally planning on moving in here. At one point they'd received building permits, but there was some issues with, ultimately with Sightline and the commercial aspect. They were, over the course of 10 or so years, there's been multiple commercial retail prime tenants that have shied away from occupying this space, primarily due to their perceived issues with Sightline and basically presence at the intersection. They felt like it was too far off the road to draw customers. So for those reasons, this land has basically been dormant for over 10 years. That's not the interest, obviously, of anyone, the town or the owner, just to pay taxes on land that sits idle. So we'd like to take this idle property that's commercially zoned and have Ken's business occupy a portion of the property, which will have a retail component. And then the other half of the property is incorrectly identified, but Joanne correctly identified it. Actually, it's kind of confusing. So it's a 5,400 square feet of office warehouse with some general business space on the corner. So you have the 9,000 square foot building as a secondary site, which would make this all work from a monetary perspective. The land unit is of sufficient size. You need to generate enough rent to support your mortgage. So this second unit would be proposed. And I'd like to just switch the screen to show you what we're looking to do. I may have to sign off. I'm going to attempt to load. Okay, I'm going to have to reshare the screen. Give me 1 second. Hopefully I can pull this off. I just want to share with you a property that has a very similar building to what we're looking to do. So, give me 1 second to square this away. Okay. Now I'm going to share this plan. Okay, good. Can you all see the aerial?
Yep.
Great. So here's just going back, here's the subject property in the middle. Okay, NeighborWorks, Franklin Savings Bank, Rite Aid. And so what the secondary building for the proposed office and warehouse use, we're looking to do something exactly like what was done down the street towards Manchester, also in Goffstown, but it's in Pinardville. It's also the commercial district partially. The industrial district cuts through the back, but the building is in the commercial district.
That's the picture you have on the sheet you gave us, the architectural example.
Great. Yeah, so I wanted everyone to I want to reinforce that aspect, is that we're looking to basically put this up at Abingdon Way for that 9,000 square foot use. And the use of that building is obviously up to the market, but at this time we don't know the type of tenants. They could be an office similar to this building has occupancy consisting of a company called Boucher Acoustic, RHR Construction, and Northeast Saw. So those are the current tenants of this building. We could have those type of tenancies, or we could have some more type of professional office, or potentially some type of a contractor, which is the purpose of the conditional use permit. However, that's the building that we're looking to put in on this property, as well as for Ken's business, a similar style, a Butler style metal building with matching architecture. You know, in terms of, we can do coloring that matches, but it's it'll be an attractive looking building. I think the building inspector, when we went to the technical review committee, he liked the look of the project, or at least of this building, as is as an attractive looking building. It's kind of hard to see from the road, but I'm trying to give you.
Jason, you're making me dizzy. What are you doing?
Sorry, I'm just trying to give you I'm trying to give you some information. Okay, so that's the facade.
We know. We live here. We know what that is. I knew where it was before you went there. It's on your map. It's next to my school.
Sorry about that. I wanted to show the public as well. So anyways, we would love to do this project on this property. I'm going to stop sharing and just kind of listen. But in terms of what we're looking for tonight is the condition. We'd like some support on the conditional use permit criteria. We like conceptual support for a conditional use permit to allow Ken to provide his tenants with flexibility in the selection of tenants when the building is complete and hits the market. And then, not to belabor the point, as I said, Lead's been trying to attract a traditional retail or commercial tenant for over a decade. And based on feedback, due to the location of the site and the restricted view from the intersection, has limited the market of interested developers. As such, the conditional use permit will allow Ken to expand his business, provide for some retail sales of product to the public, develop new floor space, and promote expansion and relocation of other businesses to Goffstown. So that's really, I'd like to also, in terms of the impact to abutting properties, which is, when I look at the conditional use criteria, the number one that I think is important here is it's compatible with the neighborhood and adjoining and abutting uses to which it's located. And so by virtue of that project I showed you across from the Dollar General store at 695 Mass Road, that's a modern building also located in the commercial district. it's a compatible project within the neighborhood. That's in Pinardville. And in terms of the traffic, we agree to I can talk about traffic, but I don't really think there's a problem with traffic. This signalized intersection was developed back in like the early 2000s when it was contemplating like a lot of more retail space being put on the site. So the volumes of traffic when they developed that signal, that was developed based on much more traffic that was anticipated coming out of the site than what would end up being as a result of this project. So obviously we'll do our due diligence in the traffic, but that whole signalized intersection was designed based on much more like retail floor space with a higher trip generation rate. But that's in and of a nutshell like what we're looking for. And we'd love to do this project with the town, and I'm open to listening at this point. Thank you.
Thank you. Comment, this is conceptual for the applicant to get some feedback from board members. Board members, questions, comments.
Barbara, this is Collis.
Go ahead, Collis.
The thing that jumps out to me immediately, Barbara, is stormwater management on the site. Obviously, there's a lot of construction material. There's bins for different types of construction aggregate. Question for Jason. I thought I heard you say there's going to be equipment storage on the property as well. Did I mishear?
Yeah, there will be some equipment for the like bobcats and things like that stored in the rear of the property. Yes.
Okay, that should be shown on the plan because that'll be important when it comes to stormwater management. So that's my primary concern, Barbara, is we got a good solid stormwater management plan for the property.
Thank you.
Other board members? I guess my comment would be, you were, I think, dead on in showing that the office warehouse proposed building, you're able to point out something that's, with a good arm, a stone's throw away from where you're proposing to put this. But the landscape supply and property maintenance office, you're not able to throw a stone and sort of even come close to anything that's like it. And I'm looking at the layout of the buildings, the footage, and it looks to me like there's probably going to be a lot of equipment going in and out of that site for a building that size. Then that there'll be equipment in the building, one type of drainage construction, and outside. And I don't know anything about landscape supply and property maintenance building businesses, but I drive by a lot of them every day. And there's lots of stuff going on. So I think that what I'm looking at might be understating what the activity on the lot might be, not so much for parking. And I think Joanne pointed out you need to deal with the parking issue, but from an activity. And I also sort of question if you're trying to convince us that somehow you're not going to have an impact on the appearance and visual quality of the surrounding neighborhood. I'm sort of wondering why you're putting all the construction aggregate next to and on the way to commercial buildings, and why the site isn't sort of flipped. Now, my guess is it's because of the size of the site and the layout of the site, and that's what works. But, it seems to me if that was a criteria you were interested in meeting, that would not be there. There are landscape places that have been around town, but not right in front of a housing development. And, if we're talking about wanting to have, I suppose one of your client's arguments is you can't see it from the street. That's why I can't get a tenant back here. But I think you can. It is very hard, and I'm not saying that the applicant in this case wouldn't. It is very difficult to keep a neat contractor's yard. It's just hard work, and I admit it. And I'm not saying he won't, but that's pretty expansive. So that would be sort of my comments as to the general layout and size. But
Thank you.
okay. Other questions or comments?
Barbara, this is Dave.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to pick up on the theme you were just discussing about the landscape building that's 120 by 80 feet. The example shows a two-story garage door, and it looks as though if this proposed building would have a same style of door, well, that door would be on the back side where the asphalt goes right up to the building. So that tells me what's going to be on the front. I would feel it would be inappropriate if the traveling public simply saw a 2.5-story blank wall. That would not be fitting for the neighborhood.
Thank you.
Why don't you turn the office warehouse so it's facing, the pretty front is facing Rite Aid, scoot it up to that end of the building, push the landscape supply back, put the entrance on the side where the cars are parked, and give it a lot of landscaping.
I'd need to have a diagram to understand what you said. I get it, but that's
Look, we're on Zoom. Here we go. All right. So it seems to me, from a criteria standpoint, that this piece is the bigger hurdle for the board to get through. Right? You've got buildings like this that are in the neighborhood.
Sure.
I'd agree. Yep.
So this is your bigger hurdle. You need this space because you want to do sales outside, and you need to get equipment in and out. Right? That's sort of why you're at this end.
Okay.
I don't know anything about equipment or stuff that I pay money for people to come bring to my yard. I just expect it to come, right, when it comes. So I appreciate having people that can do this. So why don't you take this building, if you're saying it's really just going to be office space, and have, where's my pretty little front that you're telling me that I'm going to have? Take my pretty little front, take the building and put it this way. So it's facing Rite Aid. So when you get the traffic in, and I know there's an elevation there, but that's what people see when they come in and out. And they see the building here. And this traffic here is really for this site and the houses back there. And I forget which way is one way. Is this the one way out or one way in?
That's one way in.
Yeah. And this is out. So take this building, put it here. This, I admit, you've got a size problem here because of how much equipment you want to put in it. So
it's not really a lot of equipment. I don't have that much equipment.
I mean, well, so then you don't have the maneuver. So then you don't need all this space to maneuver. If you're telling me you're not bringing a lot of equipment,
I don't have.
And even if you are, take the building and put it this way, and put it in here. And if this building is here,
that side of the land is too low, and then you will be able to see everything. If my equipment's allowed to be put behind the building, if you know about the grade issue with that site, it's already 15 feet above there. But down here, you're on the level with the building. So then all my stuff will be in eyeshot. If you put it here, nothing can be seen from the road. A 6-foot fence out back will only make it even harder for anybody to see it from the back. Putting the aggregates on the Rite Aid side with a small little fence here, nobody's going to see that aggregate unless they come into my lot. I can hide all that. I can make that look beautiful. I can make it look aesthetically
with a
beautiful.
6-foot fence and a nearly 3-story building here.
6-foot fence on top of a 14-foot grade, because the buildings out back are 14 to 16 feet down. So that's going to be like a 20-foot fence, and you're not going to be able to see anything.
You're talking about grade, and all right. That was just my comment.
Right.
I don't get the grade because I had to walk a dog out there. So
no, Barbara, it's a good comment.
Like I just wanted to I'm sorry to tune in like that.
Comment, and we can look into it.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know that
how the turning movements work based on that. layout, no problem.
It could go, but I could show you if you walked it, you'd see exactly what we're talking about.
So maybe my other suggestion would be if the grading is as been represented, and I know there are some grade issues there, but I don't recall, you know, I don't know what the footage is, that you're going to need ground level pictures of what it would look like, not just plans.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We will provide that, and we will look into your, I kind of understand what you were getting at by the drawings. It was nice to have those right at hand. So we can take a look and see if that would work for us and for Ken, and get back to you on that.
Right now, it's frankly, you know, part of it when I think it was originally developed was it was open. You can see, you know, it's sort of on a nice windy day. It's the great vista up there. It's quite the little site, but
sure,
you know, just
When
you know what I mean.
When you look at the front,
yeah,
you shouldn't be able to see any of that aggregate yard or any equipment on the property. The front should be for for public parking, and that there's plenty there. And then all that whole building, nobody from that building should be able to see what we have either. The proper fencing and technique, I think that we could make it really nice. I mean, the buildings are aesthetically pleasing to the eye.
Thank you, Ken.
And they're very beautiful.
Thank you.
Barbara?
Yeah.
I'm having a lot of problems with people talking over each other and not stating their names when they are speaking.
Duly noted. Mr. Marrier, you want to tell us your name officially for the record?
My name is Kenneth Marrier. I'm the owner of Outdoor Maintenance Services.
Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't mean to be rude.
See, when you're not in the room with me, I can't look at you and say, stop. Because pointing doesn't mean anything on this screen. All right, anybody else with questions or comments on the conceptual review that we have before us in regards to tax map 8 lot 60-2? Joanne, this is that unusual land concept that we have in regards to the land is the condominium, right?
Yes.
So will you be able to deal with whatever the documentation or requirements are for that concept, which was, I think, the only one in town we have? I don't even really know.
Well, the documents would need to be amended to include the development of that lot.
Okay.
I did read through the restrictions, and, you know, when this was approved, it was approved with the belief that that area was going to be, you know, retail or multifamily or office space. But it said anything else that is allowed, that is permitted by our zoning ordinance. So.
Wasn't there an issue with Franklin Savings Bank and the lot and needing to change the lot size? Wasn't there something with that application as far as the condo goes, are the lots for this application set? I mean, Jason would probably know that better. There's nothing that has to happen to the actual condominium as far as this site proposal.
No, just the you know, it's just one more lot in that condominium.
Okay.
Would be developed.
Yep. That's right.
All right. Okay. Jason, you have anything else for us on behalf of your client?
No, I don't think so. Just covered everything, and hopefully we can work something out with you guys, and we appreciate all your feedback. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Moving on to action items, board members. We have 2 recommendations that we need to make to the zoning board. These are in regards to variance requests. The first one is a variance for a 4-unit multifamily going to a 5-unit multifamily on 16 Union Street. You have information in your packet from Nancy Larson dated March 18th in regards to this request. Joanne, you want to tell us where we're at on this?
So this is scheduled to meet with the zoning board of adjustment, and because it's a multifamily, your rules require that you provide either comment or no comment, but that you at least take a look at it and see if you have any comments. Because it is a multifamily, it seems like they don't have the ample acreage to have a 5-unit, so that looks like why the variance is needed.
And it's board members, anybody have any questions or comments?
Madam Chair, this is Jim. I suggest that we, as we typically do, we're not going to offer a comment on the substantive issue that the ZBA will address. That's their jurisdiction, but we ask that the ZBA consider when it reviews the variance factors, the planning goals set out in our master plan, and as according is set forth in our zoning ordinance, as to appropriate density of residential development.
I would just point out that as Joanne, I would ask the ZBA to further consider what Joanne has pointed out, that there's an acreage issue in regards to going to this size, which is why they need to do this application. And I think that this site might be an example of why we have an acreage requirement, because I noticed that there are no current pictures of this building. I'm fairly familiar with it. And the picture of it on the assessing record that is there does not do what is going on with the house and lot justice. And there is a reason we have acreage requirements for these kind of things. And I think this is one of the biggest ones in the neighborhood. So anyways, I would just point that out in regards to the review, because it's sort of evident from the application itself. Anybody else?
I think this is where Miles Phillip used to live. Remember Miles?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, yeah, it is where he used to live.
Barbara, this will have to come before us for site plan, won't it? It's expansion of a current use, so we'll see this as an application.
No, I understand that, but I'm
not taking away from your comments. We're going to see it anyway in more detail.
well, I just think that when, yeah.
Yeah.
It's an awkward process that they come and they go and then they come back.
I understand, and I don't disagree with what you said. Well, I will move that we provide the comments that Barbara just made, which are more cogent than mine, to the
With yours.
to the CBA.
Is there a second? Kimberly, come on, give me a second.
Second.
Thank you. You were right there. I had to ask.
Right there.
All right. The discussion, I'm going to call the roll. Collis.
Yes.
Phil.
Yes.
Kimberly.
Oops. Yes.
Chair votes yes. Karen.
Yes.
Jim.
Yes.
Tim. I think Tim is still off, right? Okay. All right. The second CBA application is for 727 Mass Road Doggy Daycare, map 15, lot 212. Joanne.
This building is currently mixed use residential. It was at one time a daycare center, and most recently residential with a hair salon. The applicant would like to convert the building over and use it as a doggy daycare with, it says here to allow dog care on a lot with less than 2 acres, which is what the variance is for, and for the use of a kennel dog daycare. We don't have a doggy daycare definition in our ordinance. We just have kennel. So that's what Nancy is using for this particular use.
Questions or comments?
So
Karen.
This is Karen.
Go ahead.
I can't imagine having 25 dogs on a lot that small. It's what, like a quarter of an acre? But I also don't know what recommendations can we give to the zoning board in terms of how whether they should grant the variance.
Well, I will point out that they have in their application a sample of an existing doggy daycare on a non-conforming lot, which is Center Street. And it's not clear that that lot has a lot more on it. And that would probably be, the size of that lot is 0.35. So I think that was, and the size of this one is 0.27.
I mean, having brought a dog to a doggy daycare, I personally wouldn't bring my dog to a lot that small, but that's just me, and my dog is, a little spoiled.
Chewy? Are we talking about Chewy? I love that name.
Yeah, he's very spoiled. It's a very spoiled dog. But I bring him to Sandashi, and it's a huge property.
Jim is reining us back into what we should be talking about.
Sorry.
I think, first of all, the fact that there is another non-conforming use in town that's used doesn't give other people permission to do the same. You can draw lines, and we can draw a line here. The ZBA is you don't have to just encourage allow others. Second, I think it's appropriate to point out to the ZBA that we created our zoning ordinance, create certain lot sizes for certain purposes, including to minimize impact on abutters, and that's why we have that lot size requirement in the ordinance.
Gail, you've got your hand raised as our ZBA chair, recording secretary, and planning board alternate, a woman of many hats.
No, it was just raised from before. I just forgot to take it down. I'm all set. I'm not going to comment on this because it's going to come before the ZBA.
Thank you. Anybody else? I thank you, Jim, for pointing that out. I just wanted to make sure Karen saw that other one was in the packet.
This is Kimberly. I agree with Jim's statement. We certainly make mistakes sometimes, and each project gets evaluated on its own merits. But I guess I would also say that, it's up to the person who's proposing this business as to whether or not they think that they're going to get people to leave their dog at this daycare. I mean, it's in a zone area where there's other development around it, and it doesn't seem to be incongruous to what's nearby, with the exception of, I don't know, maybe 25 noisy barking dogs would be pretty darn noisy, but I mean, that's really up to the owner of the business.
Does anybody know how many children they had at the daycare?
I would argue that dogs are louder than children, having both a 4-year-old and a dog.
All right. Jim, would you like to make your standard comments for the ZBA for us in a motion?
Well, I move that the ZBA can consider the variance criteria, but we create lot sizes for a purpose, one of which is to protect the property values and the abutters, and that should be taken into consideration. I don't want to go any further than that and intrude on these ZBAs.
Actually, if the board is all right, Jim has done those comments. Joanne, I think what usually happens is, Gail, you can remind me, isn't a letter drafted just to that effect and it's sent over and he signs it on my behalf in town hall and it comes over to you with that?
Yes.
Okay,
Right.
so with the board's approval, and I'll do a roll call, we'll incorporate Jim's last comments into a letter to be sent to the ZBA under my name. And having said that, I'll call for a roll for that. Collis.
Yes.
Kimberly.
Yes.
Phil.
Yes.
The chair votes yes. Karen.
Yes.
Jim.
Yes.
I think I'm missing somebody. Did I get everybody? I guess I did.
Kim. Is Kim on?
Yeah, I got Kim. Okay. All right. All right. The other item that is on our action item, Joanne, I see there's a recommendation for Economic Development Council representative.
Yes.
That has historically been Tim in the past. Does anybody want to volunteer, or should we bring this up when Tim is present next meeting?
Yeah, let's wait for Tim.
All right, so we're going to wait for next Tim. You also got in your packet an abutter notification from the town of Dunbarton regarding a 42-unit open space development proposed on the Goffstown-Dunbarton line. And you all got packets of that application in the mail. Anybody have any comments? We've gotten a couple of notices like this. We have not recently at least made a comment, but does anybody think a comment would be appropriate? It's a pretty big development.
Madam Chair, where this is very close to the town line and is a large development, I don't know how we request this, but I'd request that we request the Dunbarton Planning Board to give particular attention to the traffic study and to share that with us when it's received, because that would be the impact, I think, on Goffstown. I say that because the roads from Manchester to this project are the back roads like Black Brook Road that will see a considerable increase in traffic possibly. And that would be a concern.
Does everybody agree with that? All right, I'm seeing a lot of nods and not hearing any objection. I don't think that requires a motion. So Joanne, if we can get a letter drafted to that effect, and I'll sign it to go over.
Mm-hmm.
And Gail, you probably got the comments in more detail. Maybe you can send those over to Patty tomorrow so she can draft something up.
I will.
Thank you. Joanne, is there any other business to come before the board tonight?
No, I didn't know on your chair's agenda, it had on there election of chair and vice chair.
Tim's not here, so let's wait. We have a new selectmen's rep, which I wasn't expecting already. So there you go. But Tim's not here, so why don't we just wait?
Okay.
We waited till like June last year, so we can do it. Anything else?
No, that's all I have.
I have a question for our selectmen's rep.
Yes, ma'am.
Are the selectmen meeting remotely or in person now?
Remotely.
So there's no change in that from the selectman standpoint? I don't know why I thought there was.
Nope.
All right, I spared you from public comment this past Monday because I knew it was your organizational meeting. But I hope that your attendance at this meeting shows you, well, benefits to online meetings for planning, it is problematic, and we are not into the weeds on plans since this remote. And we saw just tonight looking at plans that it's difficult, and I will probably go to public comment. I will try to go to public comment at your next meeting, because we also just had town meeting and elections where people were in person and no social distancing was happening. So,
well, I think if you look back at the select board vote on that, Barbara, you'll see it was not unanimous to require all town boards and committees to meet virtually.
I recall that, and I just think, you know, that this meeting was a good example of when you start to get into some applications, it's more than difficult for this board in particular.
And that's why I was the dissenting vote at the select board.
All right, well, I think I'm going to try and re-emphasize that, especially with town meeting. It was ridiculous to watch the polls at the end of the night with people counting. No one was social distancing. People were pulling off their masks and nobody was saying anything, including. Anyways, Kimberly.
I just wanted to say that I disagree, and I feel in the opposite. I feel like having the engineer online and able to give us a presentation right here in front of us was great. And I feel like, you know, it might have some glitches, but I like this version a lot better.
Well, I think it's quite honestly, it is obvious to me that there will probably be some people that will never come back to in-person meetings, regardless of what the situation is. That's pretty apparent, not only in this town, but throughout the state. So we'll have to see where it goes, but I'm not sure we've created an animal that is appropriate. I also think it is incredibly annoying to be taking public comment from people on plans when you're listening to them on a phone. And you know, from a public hearing standpoint, that abutters or comments, people are constantly getting up and wanting to point to things on plans to make sure we understand it. So I appreciate that some of us from the more technical end might be able to deal with it. The reality is, I think that this board as a public service board does not do justice to certainly abutters in regards to their ability to review plans. You know, not everybody is as technical or does this every day. So, and we lost board members. I don't know, we want to lose board members to Jim.
Oh, I'm going to suggest that if Barbara wants to express her views,
right,
the select board, she's entitled to, but she is not a representative of the planning board. We haven't authorized her to do that, but any member of the public or a board in an individual capacity can address the select board. I just want to be careful that it is not speaking for the board, because as a board we haven't made a decision.
Well, and that's why I brought it up, so you know that I'm doing it. So, and I understand that there are members of this board, frankly, who will probably not come back to meetings because this is very convenient, and I get it. But the thought of having an actual detailed proposal with people coming in to comment on it, I think is, I don't know. And abutters, I'm sure, like to stay home and dial in too. So there you go.
And then I'm going to make a motion.
Well, we should all just do our part and get our vaccine. I already got shot one, so get it going, and then we'll be able to meet.
There you go. I think Jim was making a motion.
I was trying to make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? Up, there is a second. We could count on Phil. All right. I do not need to take roll call for this. So all in favor, say aye, wave goodbye, and hit leave meeting.
All right.
Bye. Bye.